As the clock strikes 7, the vibes alive. Inner circles here where voices thrive. Turn on your screens, let the magic unfold. Listening and healing as stories are told. Come one, come all, this is your time. No topics too tough, just heed the calls. From mental health woes to justice we seek. Together we rise for the strong and the meek. A safe space for all, let's lift every voice. In a circle podcast where hearts unite. Sharing our truths, bringing hope to the light. Community strong, we're never alone. Together as one, we've created a home. With laughter and love, we break down the walls. No topics too tough, just heed the calls. From mental health woes to justice we seek. Together we rise for the strong and the meek. A safe space for all, let's lift every voice. So join the conversation, let's set the tone. In a circle podcast where love is well known.
Well, folks, thank you for joining us tonight. Welcome to our Tuesday edition of the Inner Cycle podcast. Happy belated Thanksgiving to everyone. Everyone took the long holiday off. It was a long one. I don't know what you did. Whatever you did, I hope you were thankful. I hope you ate some turkey, spent some quality time with your family, and things like that. Neighbor, Titus, what did you do for Thanksgiving?
Neighbor. Man, I just spent it with the family, but I was not on that turkey stuff, man. I was on the real African dishes, with the family. And it was a good time. The soldiers gave me a hard time all weekend. It was very long. They wore me out, but I'm grateful, man. It's family, and that's what it was about.
That's good. That's good. Peterson, what did you do for Thanksgiving? And how does Thanksgiving look in the Peterson household?
Yeah, so we have a mixture. So we, when in Rome, we do the Romans, but then we still have traditional dishes. So we had the turkey, but surrounding the turkey, we have everything, everything like some jollof rice and chopped rice and rice bread and all of that. But it was fun. We had people over.
Okay, so you mix it up.
Yep,
The turkey is on the menu, but it's also got to put in some Liberian, some African
yep,
stuff in there,
yep.
just to spice it up more. That's good.
That's
That's
right.
good. Well, folks, to all our audience out there, we hope you enjoy your Thanksgiving, whatever your meal was.
Grateful, man. It's family.
Yeah, yeah. Whether it was turkey, whether it was chicken, whether it was fish, whether it was tabagi, wherever you're from, and whatever some ogusi, whatever, I mean, whatever you, whatever, however you celebrate your Thanksgiving, we hope you spend some quality time with your family, took some time off to be grateful for everything you have, and things like that. So tonight it's gonna be a loaded night. We have a great topic: stories of resilience and recovery from survivors of post-war countries. You know, we on this panel come from Liberia, which went through a huge civil war. And obviously other folks, like have been through civil wars or currently going through civil war. And we just want to hear stories of survivors, right? It's like how have you recovered? How's your resiliency and things like that? So that's what we're going to be discussing tonight. It's loaded. Obviously, there's some current events happening in our country, you know what I mean, and things like that. So a lot of people have different opinion, and we are not here to judge anyone, right? It's just trying to share these stories and say like this. So I'm your host tonight, Abe Kamara, and we'll go around the room to introduce our panelists, and and then from there we'll dive into things. Titus.
Titus here again, guys. I am so elated tonight to be a part of this conversation. I want to say thank you to all of you, the panelists, the hosts, and to our community who continue to, be with us on this journey, who continue to have these conversations, these different conversations with us. We truly, truly appreciate you. Don't stop engaging. We love to hear from you. We love to interact with you. So, I'm excited, man. I'm excited to hear some stories tonight. Hopefully, the community will be here tonight to share some stories.
Mhm.
One thing I know about Liberians, we're such a resilient people. And even if you're not from Liberia, you're from a country, Africa, we always got something going on for some reason, right? But how did you get through it? How are you managing? What brought you this far? We want to know. So come, let's enjoy ourselves.
Okay. Thank you, Titus. Peterson.
Yes, sir. This is Houston, Chicago, and everything. Welcome to the show. Now, awaiting the comments and contribution. Let's have a conversation.
Okay, thank you so much, Peterson. So, folks, again, our topic tonight is stories of resilience and recovery from survivors of post-war countries. As I said, it's a huge current event. As the Liberia went through 14 years of civil war, and there's a huge event that happened in Liberia a few days ago. That is, that have created, lots of conversations. It's like from different angle, folks going back and forth, and things like that. So, Titus, I will start with you. What's your story from the civil war in Liberia? What can you share with our audience tonight?
Oh man, thinking about those times, they were very, very interesting times. Some of us were old or young enough to at least have some memories.
Hmm.
They weren't always beautiful memories. They were not always beautiful memories. I left Liberia I was there up to the very last incident with the Lord rebels. So imagine, right? Um, Spent all my life there, got out of high school and everything. First college and everything before coming here. So it's just a lot to unpack, right? And
Yeah.
it was a lot of at the end of this conversation tonight,
Hmm.
my hope is that we're going to, as a people, as a nation, as a community,
Hmm.
we're going to realize that there are better ways to resolve conflicts.
Yeah.
Because these conflicts, 14 years plus of civil conflict
Yeah.
where we're from, that's Liberia, has left such a mark on us subconsciously and consciously. And some of us don't even know the magnitude it has had on us. Some of
Hmm.
us are not aware on how to deal with it. We've just been thriving. We've just been going. There are so many stories. I can't wait, to share more of the stories, but I just kind of want to do an overview for us, as we go into it.
Okay. And to our audience out there, if you're not from Liberia, you're from other countries, you have experienced civil war, whether from Sudan, South Sudan, wherever, right? It's like, we want to hear your stories as well. How have you, survived? How have you lived through your life experience, and things like that. So if you can share that with us. So Titus, though, just going back on there before I go to Peterson. So you said like from the time the war started in 1989 to how they call it, like in the Liberian term, right? World War One or World War Two. You
Yeah,
lived through all of those experiences. How
all
was
of
that
them.
like? How was
Wait,
that like?
wait. Let me backtrack a little. Not all of them, because
Uh,
April 6th, I left.
okay,
I went to Ghana, and I was on that legendary ship. If you ever heard about it, Bulk Challenge.
okay,
That legendary ship, that's a
yeah,
whole different story. But
okay,
other than that, April 6th incident, I was there, bro. I was as young as I was, I saw dead bodies, you know what
uh,
I mean? Like I saw like men trying to get my mom, questioning
oh,
her.
yeah,
Yeah, those traumatic experience, as a young guy, you
yeah,
know, trying to question her, hey, can you speak this? Can you speak this? And to see her with her young sons. I am my older brother. She's just trying to be the breadwinner, right?
Yeah.
She's such a strong woman. I will always salute that woman. It's
Mm-hmm.
just so many different memories.
Mm-hmm.
And but one thing is that I remember, she used to tell me, "Don't look at them, don't look at them," and I will always look right at them,
Okay. Okay.
right at them. She didn't like that. She was so afraid. I
Yeah.
always look right at them, like like in my head, like, what you want to do, man?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just let us
Okay.
go. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So many stories, man.
Peterson, what was your experience during Civil War, and did you spend the rest of the time in Liberia during the Civil War, or just part of it?
Yeah, so the second what Tyler said, uh, we were all like of age when it started back in 1989. But I noticed, fortunately for me, I lived through the first one
Okay.
until 97, and
Oh,
then that's when I came over here. But throughout that whole, like the first 8 years of it, I didn't go anywhere. My family, we never became refugees to go to like another country, Guinea, Africa, or anything like that. So we're in
yeah,
Liberia, which means like all the bad that comes with war. We
yeah,
experienced it. And but for me personally, I
yeah,
wasn't in Monrovia, so when a lot of the atrocities that went on happened, so I I was away from that, but at the
yeah.
same time, I still experienced enough to know that yeah, this is what was going on.
So let me just stress on that a little bit. So you were there 1998, right? There's this couple of events, right? There's like 1990, there's 1990, and then there's Autopause, right? You know what I mean and stuff. And you guys can expand on that a little bit as you
Yeah.
go on here. There's Autopause, and then there's the April 6th that Tyler was alluding to. So did you live through all of that? And then like
Yes.
you said 97, and that was when the Roosevelt Johnson incident. Did you live through those events?
Yeah, so 97, I left like December actually. So
Okay.
December 97, that's when I left from Liberia. But before that, like everything that happened before that, from 1989, from what was that, Christmas Eve
Yeah.
1989 up
Yeah.
until 97, all of that. But I mean, just as much as things were going on in the city, which
Mm-hmm.
was the focus. There was even, I don't know if I want to say worse, going on in like the different counties, the different
Yeah.
counties. So
Yeah.
for um, my county, Limba, that's where everything started to
Okay.
actually go up. So we experienced that before Josie Maserado actually experienced.
Okay, okay. Titus, what is it like as a young man living through a civil war? What is it like? For the sake, like there are a lot of people in this country that have never experienced that. Obviously, you know what I mean. This is it. What is this like as a young man, and how does that experience shape you as you have grown up, as you have grown older?
It's traumatizing. You
Okay.
know, it is. Especially when you're at the place where you can recall so much, right? And even at a place where you feel helpless
Yeah.
because you have not joined, the guys. Let me give you just one quick story. I think it was during this last one, this World War I and II.
Yeah.
So
One, two.
yeah. So
Yeah.
my old man, he was always a stubborn guy, right?
Yeah.
Because we were on the Bouchard Island,
Yeah.
and the guys were coming from that side. Every time we'll see the forces, like the government forces, the military forces, the men will cross, they will go, the men will they will battle, they will come back,
Yeah.
and we could see everything on the road, right, when they're coming back and stuff.
Yeah.
So I mean, when we heard that these guys at the time they used to call them the dissident forces,
Mm-hmm.
they're coming closer and closer. Oh man, we kept saying like we got to get out of here.
Yeah.
But this guy was so, I don't know what he was depending on, man. My dad, he was just a fearless guy, man. But I felt like that attitude almost had all of us killed because it came to the point where the guys came so close
Yeah.
that we couldn't even use any vehicle to leave.
Okay.
The roads were on lockdown, so we had to walk.
Wow.
You understand? So one of the traumatizing experience that I had during that trip, just walking, right?
Yeah.
Hoosier Island, we're going in town. As we approached the police depot, one of the guys over there, he was like, "Oh, Mr. Yeager, y'all keep going. We our hands are tied because Taylor was on the ban at the time, arm embargo and stuff.
Yeah.
So he was like, "Oh, we don't have weapons. We can't continue the minute. We just have to keep pushing until we get across the bridge. So y'all go as far as giving info like that."
Yeah.
But when we're leaving, my man, the government forces, these guys were very terrorizing. Like they
Oh.
look, especially if they see a young man.
Yeah.
One of the guys on everything threw a gun in my chest. Look, where you going? You looking cooler that way? Go. The man threw the gun at me. I
Yeah.
don't know what got over me. I threw that gun right back at him, bro.
Whoa. Yeah.
Right back at him and kept moving. And he didn't coming back. But I was scared. Like, I just don't know what got over me, right? I just threw it right back at him and
Mm-hmm.
kept moving. And I think they were just talking, but he didn't coming back. That was one experience that I can never remember. I'm like, damn, what if,
Yeah.
what if I had just succumbed and stay over there?
Yeah. Yeah.
What would have happened? So, I mean,
Look.
these are just the different experiences that bring out just different emotions in you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's like just to hold you there, though. That particular experience where we get, she said, we either get you killed or get you say, okay, since you want to do that, you know what? Hey, man,
Yeah.
here's the gun. Go on the battlefield. But
Yes.
looking back at that, I mean, how how do how have you dealt with it traumatically? You know what I mean? Things like that. How has it
I
affected
don't
you?
know. I don't think I've really been intentional about stuff like that. I think I've just been dealing with that subconsciously. You think about it, you think about the experience,
Mm.
and I think maybe one of the reasons I was so brave was because my pop was there. Fearless man, stuff like that. But I mean, just to react quickly to that dude and knowing what those guys were capable of,
Yeah.
because during those times, even though they were for the government, they were
Yeah.
outlaw.
Yeah.
There were times that we were behind like rebel lines, and I saw rebels more behave than government forces.
Okay. Okay.
Like that octopus that you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
There were times that I was on the other side, that was
Sure.
now on the government side, and I
Yeah.
saw how these guys were carrying themselves. So, those are things, those are memories that are just there. And sometimes I think we use those experiences. We kind of draw. We go in there and kind of draw strength from there. But then
Sure.
sometimes, like, dude, you know what I mean? You need
Yeah.
to see some kind of help, something to be intentional about these experiences.
Have you before I go to Peterson here quick, have you ever shared that experience, that particular experience or any of those experiences that you
Yeah.
experienced before? Do you say
I have not publicly, but I have with my close folks, my brothers and stuff. Sometimes when we're talking about
yeah.
experiences during the war, and
Hmm.
some of them, I think some of them even remember. They remember it because they were right there.
Okay, okay.
You know.
Yeah, Peterson, you say you wasn't in the capital Monrovia, you're in Nimba. You know what I mean? There's Ivory Coast right there and there's Guinea right there. Why did your family decide to stay? I mean, there were a lot of Liberians, right? I was living through that civil war. Once the war hit, they said, you know what, we gotta leave. I don't want to experience this. Why did you
Yeah,
guys decide to stay?
I would say all credit to to my dad. He's like the bravest soft man that I ever met because
Okay.
he's a deacon,
Yeah.
but when the whole war started, they were in Monrovia. My parents and a lot of my family they were in Monrovia, so they had to like Tyler said, you can't get a car, you can't get any transportation, so they had to walk from
Okay.
Monrovia all the way back to Nima. But throughout that process, there were so many instances where you are like on the gunpoint or about to be killed, and then that it's just God will come to his rescue
Sure.
because somebody from among those group of young men will
Yeah.
recognize him like, oh, this Papier, he was helping me. Or when he says his name, you're like, oh, okay, I've heard of this Papier. He helped my father or he helped somebody before, so let
Yeah.
him go. So just like that. But then he decided he's like, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. If I'm meant to live, I'll live, but I'm not running away from my home. So what did you get about the whole time until we left to come here? What did
Okay.
you get about? So it was a decision that he made, and
Mhm.
we stayed.
Were you ever recruited as a young man,
Yes,
living through those experiences? Were you recruited?
yes, I was.
How did you avoid it? I mean, because a lot of young men, you know what I mean, is like they were either conscripted, right, forced into it, or some of them voluntarily said, you know what, I gotta be part of this.
Yeah. So my what happened? I was in the village. I think it was like a year within the first year of the
Yeah.
war,
Okay.
and at the time I was 7 years old.
Oh.
So yeah, they just they come and it's not like voluntary. They just say, okay, all the young people that you see, they like gather everybody, put you in a truck and take you somewhere, and then afterwards say, okay, now you are a small soldier, you have to go fight. But mine is just God that was with me all along because the person that was in charge of that region,
Uh-huh.
he blatantly refused like to take me along with him, like to go to the front. He refused that I would not go by any means necessary. So
Okay.
that's how I avoided going to the front.
Okay. Well, folks, if you just joined us, we are discussing stories of resilience and recovery from survival for post-war countries. And today, it's like our panelists here, they're Liberians. Liberia went through 14 years of civil war. And there's a huge event. One of the major players in the Liberian civil war just passed away, a few days. And there has been a major debate, major discussion in our community. Even where you are, wherever you're from, right? Wherever country you're from that experienced civil war, how has your experience been? If you want to call us, you can comment. Our number is 817-600-1525. We want to hear your story. Is it appropriate? Is it necessary to share these stories so that we can move past them or maybe learn from them? So I mean, for us to what? Not to ever, in Liberia case, not to ever repeat. I would say personally the mistake that we made. So Titus, is it like, I mean, living through that experience, right? Living through that Liberian Civil War. Do you like looking back? Is there one person that you blame for the war, or was the war even necessary? I mean, Civil War sometimes it comes, I mean, to bring change. Was the war in our case, in Liberia's case, necessary?
Looking back at our situation and even reflecting on what we where we are now as a country,
Mhm.
I mean, I can conclude that it was so unnecessary because what was that all about? But then again, I like to go, beyond things,
Mhm.
and I have a radical understanding about why certain things, certain events happening in our country.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us, there's a reason why Liberia and Liberians are mostly illiterate, not to be condescending to our people, but
Mhm.
the illiteracy rate is over 80% in our country.
Mhm.
And folks from different places, I mean, that's a very volatile place, very vulnerable,
Mhm.
for any folks with different agenda to be able to come over there and use folks easily to accomplish their own agenda. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, we must take the responsibility because you're the person coming to use
Yeah.
to execute those agenda. So it was unnecessary. A lot of it were out of ignorance.
Sure.
Folks do not know better. They're not aware. They're not educated, and people are coming in with different um, prizes and stuff to accompany to compensate you with. And when people are suffering, look at Liberia today.
Yeah.
Look at the level of corruption.
Yeah.
When you continuously marginalize people,
Uh-huh.
especially the masses, that's a time bomb.
Mhm.
That's a
Mhm.
time bomb. You're making that country very vulnerable. And at the end of the day, anybody from outside with the sophistication and criticality who can persuade folks can come in there and cause any type of trouble.
Yeah.
So I
So.
mean, it's just a lot of different causes to look at to
Mhm.
put together, what really caused those sequence of incidents that happen.
Sure, sure. So do you think? I mean, so what you're saying here is that the folks that participated in the war, the major players, right? They prey on the vulnerable people at the time, right? I mean, the war came in 1990. Those people came. They say, "Hey, we want to change your situation." So, hey, let's
Yeah.
go to civil war instead of maybe suggesting a different situation. But they say, "Hey, a civil war was necessary." So, do you,
Yep.
from your vantage point, I mean, the folks came and basically fought the Liberian people. Is that what you're saying?
We are here. We're freedom fighters. You are in bondage. The money and the wealth is only circulating between a very small circle. We can give you this. We can give you that. Folks are not thinking. A hungry man can think far.
Hmm.
He's hungry. He can't feed his family. He's looking at instant solutions to feed his family. What do you think he's gonna do? And he's not sophisticated.
Peterson, though, yeah, Peterson. A lot of folks will say, you know what, the government at the time wasn't, it's like we're doing a lot of injustices, so the war was necessary, right? From that point of view, right, it's like folks were dying unnecessarily, extrajudicial killing. So the folks say, you know what, the only way we can actually effect change here is to, take up a gun. Peterson.
Yeah, so it's like Tyler said, it's the whole thing was really unnecessary. Just a second,
Mhm. Yeah, Titus, there's like what Peterson is coming there is like, I mean, the government at the time,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
folks accused them of, right, they were doing extrajudicial killing. There were a lot of stuff going on. I mean, like right now, like even like just like so now when I read about the Sudan civil war, there's two sides to that civil war. It's like both sides committing atrocities, but it came because maybe the government were like creating a lot of injustices or doing extrajudicial killing. So the other side said, we got to take up a gun to bring about change. What will you say to that?
Yes, I mean, you wouldn't blame those folks. That's their perception. That's how they see. That's
Yeah.
the lens they're using.
Hmm.
A hungry man is an angry man. You continue to marginalize people. They don't have a way to feed themselves and their families. You continue to take advantage of these people, misuse power, and especially these extrajudicial killings you're referring to. When
Hmm.
people are saying that, their folks, their kinsmen are dying
Hmm.
from the hands of the power that be, man, they're gonna revolt. They're gonna revolt. So, in a sense, they're gonna find some sort of justification to get rid of you, to reduce that suffering and destruction that you continue to harness upon their people.
Sure, sure, sure. Yeah, Peterson. So then, there were these major players, right? So one of them just passed away. Prince Johnson. He was a rebel leader. The Charles Taylor, who's currently in jail. You know what I mean? But some folks look to these guys as heroes, right? It's like, I was sitting in a gathering Saturday. There were a lot of folks who said, you know what? He saved my life. He saved my family life. What will you say to those?
yeah, I mean, each person has their own unique experience, and it's like two sides to a coin. So, in one person's eyes, if you look at it, Steve Johnson was like a terrorist. He was like terrorizing people. And then if you look at it from another lens, you say, well, he actually like saved people. So it depends on that person's experience, and I think each person's experience is valid.
Yeah,
Whichever point they are coming from, it needs to be respected to say, okay, well, that is the experience, but what we need to do now, even before he pass on, is to say, okay, let's put all of this behind us and come together so that we can be able to rebuild this country. Because, like we said from the beginning, 14 years is not like 1 or 2 years.
mhm,
It's going to take decades
yeah,
to build back what we lost. So with that, we just have to say, okay, this person's however they feel about him, and however this other person feel, that's your feeling, and you can respect it. But let's look at the bigger picture to say, okay, this is the country that we all love, and how can we come together to rebuild?
yeah. Tyler, do you think after a civil war there should be accountability to those who participate in that war?
Definitely, I think that's a key factor to bringing healing, into a land. There has to be accountability. Whether you want this to be and reconciliation. You
Mm-hmm.
know, It- there has to be accountability. There's too many stories about and accounts about people who, bro. Sometimes it's even a rumor.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's even a rumor about these different players in our conflict,
Yeah.
right? Some There are times if you bring accountability, some of these players will have the opportunity to either be guilty or be exonerated.
Okay.
You have to bring accountability for that because the victims that there are some victims during those incidents. That's where they get they start their healing from,
Okay. Okay.
right? That's where they
Yeah.
start their healing from.
Okay.
People must be accountable. But you see, our country, especially our country, Liberia,
Mm-hmm.
we reward we reward warmongers.
Okay. Okay.
There is no accountability. Impunity floods the land, and our people continue to experience those very same things
Yeah.
that our ancestors die and suffer for. So
Sure.
tell me, where are we heading?
Okay. Well, folks, if you're just joining us, thank you very much for watching us tonight. Our topic tonight is stories of resilience and recovery from survival for post-war countries. Sam, welcome. You just joining us. What's your take on this topic tonight?
What is scare man and say? What Tata say? Tata story. Tata, you stop going back in somebody's chest. You brave, eh?
Quickly, quickly.
That must have been a miracle,
Yeah.
man. Look, man. 1990, I wasn't around too much. When I said
Okay.
too much,
Where
I
were
try
you?
to
Where were
reveal
you?
my
Where were
age.
you? Where
I
were
ain't
you?
revealing my age, but 1990, I wasn't around too much. But
Okay.
April 6, 1996, right? Right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the war. I kind of, I saw a little bit of.
Okay.
Man, I was saying, I was born on Rex, in Virginia, way back there in Montserrat County,
Yeah.
and so we had gone to visit my uncle.
Okay.
I mean, so rest in peace. But my mother's oldest brother,
Mm.
he was living on the what's it called, Yella Motel area,
Okay.
somewhere in Painesville there by the Painesville Depot Zone 5, something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Uh, Across from the Painesville Town Hall. For those who know the area,
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, that Nugutan man, so you know that area. Anyway, so man, we were out there and the war broke out,
Hmm.
and
Mhm.
mind you, my parents now were way on the other side of town, and we were on the other side of town. So they wanted us to come home.
Yeah.
By that time, man, no vehicles going through, my man. Everything locked, seized up. My mom just couldn't rest. My mom wanted to find a way to come for us. You know, it was me and my sister who were
Yeah.
who were out there across town.
Yeah.
So, well, fast forward this thing, because I spent all day on it. My man, time for us to go back, my man. My uncle, my mother's youngest brother,
Yeah.
he came to get us. He was a high head guy, man. Came to get us, my man. Man, walk from way Douala area to
Yeah.
Pins to upper Pinsville area, man. They can't get us. Got me and my sister. My experience, my man, coming, my man, we saw dead body on the road, my
Wow.
man.
Wow.
People lying down, dead,
Hmm.
Yeah.
dead. My man, I saw one picking with AK on his chest, hair tied, picking out brave. My man, the picking look at me one time and I want to pee on myself. Small that picking, probably like 7 years, 7, 8.
Yeah.
The AK longer than the man. The
Hmm.
man, they just dragging the AK.
So child
Man,
soldier. Yes,
child
you.
That's
soldier,
for you.
man.
Yeah.
Child
Mhm.
soldier, my man.
Yeah.
But look, I saw the picking when the picking gave me eyeball one time. I said, hey, God. Because, man, look, when the man call you, some kind of way the man used to talk, it's like they're talking in the bottom of the stomach. Ali, you can. When the man command, and man, when the guys have those guns, man, whatever they tell you, I said, that that brave man because if I were him, somebody called me like that, my man, I ain't making no move.
Sure. Sure. Sure.
But the experience was terrible, horrific, man. We saw a
Mhm.
lot of things
Yeah.
on the way. And also, man, when you're home like that and they fire those guns, my man, for some reason, man, you just want to use the bathroom. Yeah, I don't know about you guys, my man. But when they let that thing go, I know what kind of AK. Look, that's what they used to have one gun, Peterson too. Or they used to have something when they fire the thing,
Mm,
it can sound as though it landing on a couple of roofs. You
okay.
know what I'm
El
talking about?
Mota.
Yeah.
El
That-
Mota.
My man, anytime I hear that thing, I get diarrhea.
Uh,
Shit,
Yeah.
dude.
So yeah. So that particular experience, right? That you just recounted. Looking back at it, like, do you always reflect? I mean, do you always? I mean, when you reflecting on it, what it is that really really maybe that get you emotional or things like that. What is it about that experience?
Having been moved from that area,
Mhm.
and coming over to America, I think it helped quite a bit.
Yeah.
But when I hear, some random sounds,
Yeah.
firecrackers and all the thing, and when I'm not looking at it, man, I don't have flashback, but I get startled.
Okay.
Yeah, I get startled with loud sounds, man.
yeah.
It happens every now and then.
Have you ever shared this experience, gathering publicly, talking maybe to a therapist or counselor? I mean, a lot of things, right? I mean, it's like what I want to know is like, do Liberians come here? I mean, okay, we moved, now we are here. Do we share these experiences? In your case, have you ever?
No, I have not. I have not shared it. Because for the simple fact that it really doesn't get in the way of my functioning. You know what I mean,
Okay,
or anything like that. It's
okay.
not severe to the point where, because for PTSD, you have to meet a certain criteria,
Hmm.
and being startled and too aware of your surrounding in a situation like we out in public. It's just one part of that, but there's so many things that go into that. But the bottom line, no, because the simple fact that it really hasn't gotten in the way of
Okay.
my functioning or anything like that. So I don't see it as an issue,
Okay.
no.
And I was just asking Tado say a bit, and I will come to you quick, and I'll go to Peterson. The Liberian Civil War, 14 years of civil war, there was no accountability. Why you think the Liberians never went the way of accountability for all the major players in the Civil War? A lot of countries after the Civil War, they can say, you know what, all the major players, they have to be accountable. In Liberia's case, they decided we don't need that.
I've said two things. Number
Mhm.
one is religion.
Religion.
Religion has a big part to play.
Can you expand on that? I'm
Yeah, of
confused.
course.
Yeah.
Religion has a big part to play in the way Liberia is in a lot of ways as well.
Hmm.
But as it pertains to the accountability piece, um, we like to say we forgave you, we let it go, and all of those things. We'll leave it with God. You know what I mean? We'll leave it with God. But mind you, this God also is a God that will judge us. So why don't we hold people accountable for what they do?
Hmm.
And so sometimes the way we interpret the Bible that a lot of people subscribe to, Christians subscribe to, they tend to let certain things go and not really hold people accountable because they
Hmm.
believe that when people do something to you, you let it go. So
Okay.
we are not holding people accountable. And the part two there is that we are too connected as a people. We are too connected. This person knows this person knows person. So they believe also in that when you hold rope, rope will hold butch. One person will start pulling something and other people will get in problem. I don't want her, my uncle's son, my this and that. They let it go.
Okay.
So I
Peter,
think
yeah. Peterson, I mean, Sam raised an issue there that what I mean, kind of. He said we are too connected. We are too connected, but 250,000 Liberians were killed. You're talking about countries that they are connected, but 250,000 lives were lost. How can that be?
Yeah, so
If we are so connected, how can that be?
we are so connected, but is like during the whole time, I think people were not in the right state of mind to really make certain decisions because, like, there were times where somebody would be one of these factions, and they would literally force you to either like harm your own family member. And because of that, it's like, yes, we're connected, but at the same time, we have this separatism mindset like, okay, I'm separate from this person. Yes, we're family, but you live on that side of the river now, so like we don't belong to to the same family. So I think that's one of the mistakes that people make, and like what Titus and Sam said about accountability. It's the same thing that happens here. If somebody commits a crime, the family will come and say, "Oh, we forgive this person. We don't want anything," but the law will take its course. Like you'll say, "Okay, now you leave it up to the law to hold that person accountable and bring them to justice." So it's the same thing that we should have been doing. Like you said, "Oh, we're living with God and it's Christianity," but I think most times too we do not want to dig up old wounds. We rather
Okay.
cover it with like a rod instead of like exposing it and saying, okay, let let's expose everything so that we can be able to deal with it. We'd rather cover it up and just step on it, step on it, step on it, and but it's not really buried. So that's what it comes to the
Okay.
accountability issue.
Yeah, Titus, why couldn't we leave it with God then? If Sam, I mean, to Sam's point, right? Why couldn't we leave it with God in 1989, but we have to bring a civil war, right? Is that why couldn't we leave it with God? Now, after the civil war, 250,000 people died. That's when Liberia decided it should be left with God. Why couldn't it be left with God in 1989?
Because we're so hungry at the time to think about leaving anything with God.
Huh?
You remember that rice riot? The people wanted food. There was a monopoly over agriculture, rice. Just with the president and his family controlling the market, and folks were suffering. you
Okay.
know and there was this dire need or desire for a multi-party system. So all
Mhm.
those things, when the progressives were pushing all those ideas, I mean, it was easier to get the people amped and persuaded to get out there and go against the power, especially when they're starving.
Yeah.
But this same leave it with God thing, and like Sam said, that we're so connected. Even the last regime in Liberia, the previous president, when it
Hmm.
asked him about prosecuting folks and making sure that folks account
Hmm.
for corruption or past or present corruption that will go through his government, he referenced the same thing. It's a small country. How can a country move forward like that if you cannot hold people accountable?
Yeah.
It's not always about the punishment, but folks would like to see. And this will also serve as a deterrent for other people that might be thinking about committing those different, crimes.
Just
But
Hmm.
like
another thing
yeah.
I wanted to kind of throw light on to
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
The victims in Liberia have not had any platforms
Yeah.
to express their experiences. The Truth and Reconciliation Committee,
Yeah.
the commission,
Yeah.
they provided an avenue for men like Prince Johnson there come
Uh-huh.
out there and explain, give their account, what they did in the war, right?
Yeah.
But we have never heard from the victims. Why is that? Ever thought about that?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Sam, do you think is that a reason, right? Is that one a reason because there was no accountability? Is that one a reason there has been so much emotion around the death of Prince Johnson? One of the major warlord in the country, right? Let's look at during the Civil War. Is that a reason why there has been so much emotion, so much raw emotion? As is, I mean, obviously, for those that are on social media, is that just back and forth? Even the country, sometimes we monitor the news, like everyone going back and forth. Is that a reason there's been so much raw emotion because there was no accountability?
Yeah, Tatos, let me first commend you for bringing this up. The, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission that was set up opened wounds and never closed them.
Hmm.
Uh, for many, it educated and exposed some of the things that we did not know. And it brought up more hurt, more pain, agony for many. and and the death of Prince Johnson, for many, is finally a revenge, or a, not revenge, but it for many, it is a final victory for some,
Like
right?
a
For many,
settlement for them. Yeah.
yeah, and for many, and for others, is a big loss, right?
Mhm.
And this just tells you, look, when a man died, we went on Facebook. There were so many different views, opinions, and this showed that our country is still bitter. People are still hurt.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Normally in our society, when somebody dies, even that person was a womanizer, that person was a little thief, or then people say good things about them. Amen, amen, go on. This was the first time I seen a person die, and people were
Hmm.
openly saying things, bad things about him,
Hmm.
right? I mean,
Mhm.
it's obvious. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
this
yeah.
tells you that we as a country, we are hurt. We have been hurt for so long.
Mhm.
And this is not a thing. His death is not one thing that will heal now. It doesn't take away the hurt. But I think it brings to mind, it reminds us that there is a need for us to do some kind of intervention, because for many years, we have been dealing with
Mhm.
this thing.
Mhm.
And the people from the Klan tribe and the people from Nimba, the Nimbadians, I think we need to start working on trying to come together as a people, as
Mhm.
one, and
Mhm.
see how best we can let these things go.
Okay.
Because I mean, people have been hurt over the time, and people are still hurt and will continue to be. But something must be done. An intervention must be done. And that was, to your point. TRC was not a good approach, for the simple fact that it opened the wound
Mhm.
and left it to be there. So I think they should have had the reconciliation portion of that,
Okay.
but they didn't do that.
Okay. Folks, if you're just joining us tonight, we are discussing stories of resilience and recovery from survivors of post-war countries. Has been a major event in Liberia over the last couple of days. Liberia went through 14 years of civil war, and one of the major players just died at the age of 72 and has created so much raw emotion. Peterson, you from Nima, you know what I mean? Sam just mentioned Nima. You mentioned earlier that you're from Nima. You know what I mean? It's like how can you know what I mean? The different tribes, I mean, from your vantage point, work together to make sure what happened in 1989 through World War One or World War Two or World War Three never happen again.
Yeah, I think it's like what Sam and Travis and everybody's saying right here. We need to intervene somehow. So
Mhm.
there needs to be a way to see each other. Like we're talking about how like there's a small country and we're connected. We need to see each other as one people. Like we are the same. Instead
Mhm.
of saying, oh, this person is from Nimba, this person is from Gambia, or from we say, oh, from the southeast, or from upper Nigeria. We need to all consider ourselves as one country, one people, and try to see how best we can uh, invest in the country, not just to say, oh, okay, I need development to come to my part, and then development goes to this person's place. But if anywhere is developing Liberia, it's Liberia that is getting developed. So we need to consider the country as a whole, not like say, oh, okay, we have this set of people and this set of people. And we also need to have the mindset that if somebody tries to come, like they always say, oh, family that plays together stays together. If you have a large family and
Yeah.
some outsider comes and bring this like radical idea to try
Yeah.
to separate you guys, if you are really a strong family that is close knit,
Yeah.
you would like push that person out and say, get out of here. We don't need your ideas. So it's the same thing. We need to bring that to a broader level to say, okay, Liberia, we are one people and we are all the same. Instead of saying, "Oh, you from here," because I don't understand the dialect or
Sure.
the language you speak, then that means you are different. No, it's really that way.
Okay. Titus, you think the countries or the countries like you or any post-war country, right? Can they ever have a closure? Can they ever move forward without a closure? In Liberia case, there hasn't been a closure. As you can see, the raw emotion that came from the death of one of the major players. Do you think any country that have experienced civil war can ever move forward without a closure?
I think that's almost impossible. I
Mhm.
think that's almost impossible. And as Peterson just talked about that, that unity that we need. If we remain divided, stranger, and there's a proverb to that supports that, right? When brothers fight, strangers inherit their land. If we remain divided, you see how the foreigners are already taking over our economy. Strangers will inherit our land. We
Mhm.
need closure. We do. There are other African countries who have done it. Look at South Africa. Do you know what South Africa went through to the apartheid time?
Mhm.
Every time we talk about reconciliation, I think Liberians, we just thinking about, punishing these guys or putting them in jail or, having capital punishment for them, right?
Mhm.
But we can also we can tap into restorative justice too, where again, like I talk about the victims, provide a platform for people to express themselves, and the perpetrators must come with honesty and sincerity, right?
Okay.
When these people talk and those energies are exchanged, most of the time people are willing to just let go. Like the fact that you come and you tell me the truth and you show remorse and sincerity, there's healing. When healing takes place, it's easy to forgive,
Mhm.
but there's no closure. You're not giving anything to the people. You're just creating more and more suffering for our people.
Yeah.
Our people are not healing. This
Yeah.
is as evident in the case of Prince Johnson. Prince
Mhm.
Johnson, he was one of the major players,
Yeah.
and one could say that he was rewarded for the part he took in the war.
Yeah.
This is the longest serving statement that we had in Liberia,
Mhm.
over
Yeah.
about 20 years,
Yeah.
you
Okay.
know? So
Mhm.
he's been rewarded. At the same time, let me not forget, because I was also on Bushra Island
Yeah.
during the time when Prince Joseph had his base in Caldwell. That entire Bushra Island was safe.
Okay.
The entire place. As you heard me earlier, there were at one time of the war, I was behind the rebel lines,
Sure.
right?
Sure. Okay.
Yes. That entire and at that time President was not coming for it. I was, a freedom fighter crew.
Sure.
And there
Sure.
were another time I was at cross with the government troops, and these were the ones that were, really creating a whole lot of different atrocities too during the war.
Okay.
So closure is needed. People
Okay.
gotta talk. People
Okay.
have to heal. Accountability must happen for people to be able to move on. But this
Okay.
whole thing about keeping things on the road, oh, let's just forget it. That's the thing that continue to build a mountain out of a mole.
Okay. Sam, do you think looking at the dynamics of Liberia, right, is that they chose the South African model, the TRC, as Status just alluded to. Looking at the dynamics of Liberia, do you think that model that Liberia chose, right, to go with, was that model ever going to work, bringing like perpetrators and victims together? Can that model ever work in Liberia?
It can work, but I think I think it needs to be done uh, from a grassroots level. Um, I think it can still work. Frankly, what needs to happen is that, you see, let's pay attention here. Most of the people who experience, uh, who had direct experience with the war, I usually fading. They're fading away now. Not usually, they're all fading away now, right?
Hmm.
Most people have indirect experience, wherein, oh, you killed my uncle, I heard about it, and that, right? Some people were very young when these things happened. They still hold that in them, but not but our leaders have to be intentional about making sure that they make this happen, making sure to make this happen. I think people focus too much on the crime and the guilt, But there are other people in that country who were affected by Prince Johnson and were affected also by Doe, who were
Mhm.
not Crown or Gill. The entire country needs to reconcile.
Okay.
And so there needs to be work done from the grassroots level, all right,
Okay.
and trying to ensure that we can unite as a country. And I think that the thing that's important here, like Peterson alluded to, we need to come together and focus on one thing here. We have a common denominator. Liberia is
Mhm.
our common denominator. If
Mhm.
we must love this woman, if we must grow this woman, if we must nourish this woman and develop this woman, we have to come together. We
Okay.
have to forget all of what happened, focus on this country that we have, and build this country. There are so many young countries around us, 56 years old, 50 years old, 60 years old countries. They are far more developed because of the mindset. My man, sometimes I like to think that we will go somewhere, but there are other times I want to be that we won't go anywhere because the mindset that we have. So we must work on changing this mindset. We must work on loving each other, collaborating, and trying to grow together and make this country what it needs to be.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for that brilliant, brilliant commentary right there. Folks, we are discussing stories of resilience and recovery from survivors of post-war countries. And today, obviously, we are honing in on Liberia, where there's a major event that just occurred in Liberia. One of the major players in the 14 years of civil war just passed away. And that created so much, or has created so much raw emotions on both sides. The entire country has been, is like pretty much on fire, right? Folks going at it, on both sides and things like that. We don't want to keep you here all night, so we'll drag this maybe for the next 15 minutes. But Peterson, so after all, like after 14 years of civil war, 250 life lost, so much so much destruction of the infrastructure, everything, right? Is like, and I mean, Sam was saying a lot of the major players they are fading away, but the memories have not faded away. The country is still, I mean, the infrastructure has not fully recovered. How can Liberians, and Liberia move forward given the current realities?
Yes, so I think first we have to acknowledge like what happened because sometimes it took this event of Prince Johnson's passing for some of these things to come back to life. So this is what we're talking about. Like right after the war, uh, I know it was probably too early to say, oh, okay, let people get together and talk and pour out their emotions. But a lot of things have been buried for so long since the beginning of the war. So this is what, almost 40 years
Mm-hmm.
now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, coming from the beginning, from 1989. So a lot of people are still carrying those emotions and they're just burying it. They're burying it. And it doesn't matter their physical location. People would leave Liberia, go to travel, and they still have that mindset like, okay, I'm so angry. Uh, what happened? And there's nobody to talk to, or if I talk to somebody, they will say, "Oh, it was during war, so what do you expect?" All is fair, like when people say all is fair in war, it's war. But when we're talking about accountability, like Taylor's alluded to earlier, it's not like, oh, okay, you have to grab somebody physically and put them in prison or in jail or like capital punishment and stuff like that. Is people need to come together and just like to talk, to have a discussion. And it's like what Sam just said, it starts at the grassroots level. You can't just go and say, oh, okay, whoever is in power now just bring people together. It has to start in the community, and it starts in families, and then communities, and then the nation. But it's going to take time. It's going to take a long time because it's not something we talk about 14 years. So if it was like the how did they say it, the 4 days war or something that some countries have. You say,
Yeah,
oh, okay, we're considering a week, so let's go ahead and get things settled. Hold on a second.
sure. Okay, Titus, do you think, right, after 14 years of civil war, as I said, so many lives lost, destruction, did Liberia learn anything from the war?
Yes, absolutely. I think I think we learn a
What
lot.
what it is that Britain learned from the
I
war.
think we learn a lot, even in our disagreements now. We're expressing more. We're talking and we're writing more than we're physically attacking one another. I think that's one thing we learn from, and you have a sense of no return. You have a sense of no return to those times. But at the same time, I think our leaders must be very careful not to take advantage of that because every man has a limit. So, in as much as people don't want to go there, if you continue to marginalize our people the same way it was happening back then, that made them so vulnerable, well, you made a bed, you lie in it. But I
Mhm.
think we've learned a lot from that. If you speak to most Liberians now, we really don't want to return to those dark ages. But a man will rather take from you forcefully than to continue to beg on his knees for food to feed his family.
So what you're saying then I'll go to you, Sambia. What Tyler is saying here, the very cause of the war, okay, as 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 basic hasn't changed, right? Nothing has changed. So isn't it easy? Isn't it easier for Liberians to go back to, I mean, the same 1989 episode? Wouldn't that be easier?
No, I don't think it'll be as easy as it was. I think, like
Why
Tata
is
is
that?
saying,
Why is that?
well, the mindset of Liberians when it comes to war now is different. People are using their pens now. They're writing. They're speaking up. There are people now who are more exposed to other things, other ways of people can now protest, right? People can now get in the street protest, and even though with their efforts to protest, they will destroy things and all of that, and it happens everywhere. Uh, but those things, those steps that people are taking will less likely have them to go and hold guns. And so people are not really doing that. I don't think people will be able to do that anymore. As far as I can see,
Hmm.
people are speaking up more. People are talking more. There's a platform now for people to get out there and say things. There will be crisis. There could be crisis, right? But
Yeah.
not in the way that we had it back in 1990 and April 6th and all of that. I don't think the young people in Liberia will go and be fooled to hold guns and all of that. They're not going to do that. They're not going to
So
do that.
are you saying though in 1989 there were in Liberians writing, talking, going on videos and doing things like
There was no platform to be heard.
okay,
Uh, 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 you couldn't even come out and demonstrate without a gun. You would be killed.
okay,
You can protest. You couldn't come out and protest. If you try, you'll be dead. But
okay,
you can come out now and protest without a gun. You can protest.
okay,
Uh, 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 you may get a post, but you will not die.
okay,
You can go on Facebook and tell Joseph Boakai that he's too old to be a president and he should step down, and nobody will say anything. I mean, people will comment, right?
yeah,
But nobody, you will not die. You will
okay,
still walk around freely. So that's the freedom of press, freedom of speech that
yeah.
people can exercise now. You couldn't do it like that back then. During Taylor time, you're not stupid to try that nonsense. You can't do it.
Yeah. But so, Peterson, all of those things that Taders and Sam just talked about, they are happening, but it's not bringing any change, right? There's still corruption, there's still mismanagement, all of the things that led to the 1989 event. I mean, not the extrajudicial killing, right? I don't know much about that, okay? But most of the underlying causes that led to 1989, they're still there. So why would things to be different now? I mean, folks are talking, yeah, but it's not leading to any change.
Yeah, change
No,
is,
but hold on one second, AB. Let me ask you a question here real quick. Sorry,
Mhm.
Peterson.
yeah,
Yeah.
When you say all of the things that were there, 1989, I brought the war. Are you saying the things that brought the war, 1989, is the
What the
same things
underlying
that
causes, right?
happening?
Title said corruption, mismanagement, right? I talk about the extrajudicial killing earlier. I don't think that's happening now. I mean, there were extrajudicial killing back then. There were a lot of other stuff, okay? But some of these underlying causes, though, they are still there. That's what I'm trying to say, right? Some of them are still there. Corruption, mismanagement. The country is still poor. It's still dirt poor, right? Those I think people are folks are still vulnerable. Tado said that earlier. Folks are still vulnerable. That vulnerability hasn't changed, though, has it?
No, I want you to bring more clarity to the issue. That's why before Peterson coming.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
that
yeah.
vulnerability hasn't changed, right?
Okay.
Folks are still vulnerable, right? I mean, the extrajudicial killing is not there, but folks are still vulnerable. The poverty is still there.
Corruption and all that. Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Exactly, yeah. So that's what
Yeah.
I mean. That's what I was trying to, as I go to Peterson on.
Yeah, so uh, with your question about if all the signs are still there, why it seems change happening, change is very slow. So it's going to take time. Like I said, it will take time for the change to come through, for people to realize it. And I mean, uh, that's the start is what we're talking about. Like people are now allowed to go into the streets and protest. These are it's a big change from way back then. So change is a process and it's going to take time. But as far as like the corruption and the mismanagement, we always say, oh, maybe we need our generation or people who are exposed, who live in the time that we live now to be able to run the country. But it's all about the mindset. You can take a 40-year-old person who's like a world traveler and you become president of Liberia, but if they don't have that mindset to say, oh, okay, I want to bring a change to this country, it will be right back to the same old thing. So it's just we need to have that mindset. Our people, uh, it's like what Title said earlier.
Yeah.
They we're illiterate, and it's a shame to say that. And it's not something we say with pride or to say, "Oh yeah, we condemning people." No, but that's the
Sure.
reality. We need
Okay.
to focus more on learning so that we can have information and the knowledge so that we can be able to, when it's time for the change to come, then we'll be able to implement it.
Okay. Titus, what can Liberia in the diaspora do to bring about healing, to bring about change, to change the dynamic of that country? What can Liberians do? Or what can like even folks right from any post-war country, what can they do to contribute to change in that country, especially as it relates to healing?
I think one of the things that we could do who are out of Liberia is what we're doing right now. We're providing platforms for folks to come and express themselves.
Hmm.
Unfortunately for our community, I mean, you know how it is. But we keep providing, different platforms for
Hmm.
people to come out and talk. And if obviously if you observe our community
Yeah.
on this social media platform that this guy has provided us, we are manifesting. A lot of us are manifesting the trauma of the war, of the
Okay.
war.
Okay.
The way we carry ourselves,
Yeah.
the way we're out there. Look, I just shared a video the other day of a Liberian lady
Hmm.
who her mom is here. I think she's sent for her mom. Her mom is here with her now in the States, helping her with the kids and stuff. The Oma went, I think it was on Thanksgiving Day. The
Hmm.
Oma go visit her friend, came back the next day. The girl said her mom gotta stay outside.
Mm.
Yeah. And the Oma was like, and she called the police.
Mm.
She called the police because she did not want her mom to enter the house.
Right.
Why? She said because the mom slept out.
Mm. Okay.
So I mean, in my mind, that just it looks like a post-war issue that you're going through. Because who does that? When was the last time you heard that from a Liberian family that the child will put them out and even call police? And the officer had to tell her, ma'am, there's a procedure to go through if you want to evict someone who lives with you. You can't keep her out here. It's cold. It's the winter right now. You cannot keep her outside. If you're really trying to keep your mom out of here, go through the process. These
That's what
are
we
just
can't.
I think these are just different manifestations of all the stuff that we've been going through as a people.
Hmm.
We can't
So
Okay.
put that
much to
on the wall,
see.
man.
Okay.
That's
Sam,
that.
Sam, you got something to add to that?
Yeah, no, Tata, we can't put that on the wall. That's a mindset thing. That
Mm.
doesn't derive from the wall.
Okay.
People have the mindset that when they bring somebody to this country, They own them. They can control them anytime they want to. That
Mhm.
person has to submit to them in total, and that's wrong. You brought your
Okay.
But where do you
mom
think that
here.
mindset comes from, man?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, so what manifestations and like what behavior Liberians are manifesting? Like those are in the diaspora. What behavior are they manifesting? Do you think is a result of the war? Same.
Well, well,
Are there any specific behavior you can point to that you know what? Maybe this is because of the war is
Fighting each other on
well,
fighting each other on social
I would
wait,
media.
say,
wait,
yeah,
wait,
the fighting,
yeah.
the way we spend money, the way we handle finances, the way we live in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Um, those are things that I would say, maybe as a behavior of struggle, coming
So,
from struggle, not just the
mm-hmm.
war alone, but just struggle, because the
Mm-hmm.
war created the struggle, and that struggle that we live in or
Mm-hmm.
live through,
Mm-hmm.
uh, force us to, uh, be the way we are in some ways, right? But
Mm-hmm.
Titus, I mean, what you're saying here, what I'm trying to say to you is
Sure.
that we can't pinpoint that on the wall.
Okay.
That mindset, I think it's just a control thing. The
Okay.
fact that if mind you, if that lady was in Liberia with her mom, she wouldn't act like that, right?
Uh,
Okay.
But because she brought the woman over here, and I seen they be doing with the men,
Okay.
bring a man
uh,
over here. That by different topic than that thing. But
Okay. 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 Peter say, first of all, I want to kind of put a little something that Sam brought up. He said like bros live in a movement because of the war. So do you think our party behavior here, everywhere you go, like bro, let to party, or is that because, like, is that because of the war that
Yeah,
we just
so I was
fun,
yeah,
live in those moments, and not worried about tomorrow?
yeah, I was going to comment on that, and yes, it is about like that mentality or that mindset from the war. Even if you were not old enough to experience the war, it's like okay, during the war, there was this struggle. Like okay, if whatever I have, if it's food, I have to eat it right now because the next hour I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if like soldiers are going to come through, rebels or anybody's going to come through. So you live for the moment. You don't think about what's going to happen like an hour from now. So we, a lot of us still have that mentality. And when Thanos was talking about like some of the manifestations, is like this hostility that we just have towards each other. It's like you will say something to somebody and they just take it out of context and they come at you with this aggressive, hostile attitude because we still stuck in that mindset. And a lot of us, or a lot of people, when we left Liberia, we never had a platform or a space to actually like talk about any of this stuff. So, like what Tyler said earlier about the victims, we are all victims of the war. So, but we've never had the chance to actually like express our feelings and emotions and stuff, and the trauma that everyone went through. We haven't been able to deal with that, and I, I think Liberians are one of the most resilient people alive because despite everything that we went through, a lot of us come here and it's like nothing ever happened. It's
Okay.
like nothing ever happened, and it's just the feel that you see because of social media that you see expressed in a negative way to say, oh, okay, maybe it's due to what they went through. That's why they are behaving this way.
So, Sam, I'll come back to you here quick. So, you alluded to how, healing, that needs to be hit. I think what you the title that says like, so do you think like bringing diaspora, right, need a grassroots effort at healing? You know what I mean? It's like, does that grassroots effort you're referencing that needs to happen in Liberia, does it need to happen in a diaspora among Liberians as well in terms of healing?
yeah, yeah. We if we must do this thing,
Mm-hmm.
we have to do it both home and abroad.
Okay.
All Liberians, all Liberians will need to partake in it.
Okay. Okay. Well, folks, we can't go all night. Tonight we have been discussing stories of resilience and recovery from survivors of post-war countries, and that's a very interesting topic. Our panelists have created some great information tonight. They have shared some personal stories of us during that time in Liberia during the Civil War. So, Titus, as we close here tonight, what is your parting message to our audience? How can they deal with this trauma? A lot of Liberians have been going through both back home and things, and here. It's like how can then continue to, what is your party message to our audience tonight, basically?
We need to be aware that we are a special people. We're from a special place. Our history, our unrest, our civil unrest, should not define who we are. In a sense, especially negatively, because going through all that we've been through, coming out, um, positively. Some of us are still fighting on and thriving and keeping on. It speaks to the resilience, as Peterson alluded to earlier. Do not allow the negative aspect of what we went through
Mm-hmm.
to define the bad habits and manifestation in us. We're
Mm-hmm.
in a different environment, thankfully. And even if you're even still in Liberia, it's you have the ability, even though you might not have all of the opportunities compared to those outside of Liberia, but you have the ability to try to stay focused. There are not services there compared to other places like therapeutic services, but you can build really positive relationships. You can talk about these things amongst well-meaning people. Express your experiences. Talk about it. Those are different forms of way of or ways to heal.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? You can build an entire community of healing. The environment again might limit you, but make the best of where you are.
Okay.
Make the best of where you are. Continue to build yourself up. There are different ways. Like there are sporting activities.
Sure.
Thankfully in Liberia we love to play soccer, and all the sporting activities, work out. You see now folks go to the gym, they're working out. People
Yep.
go on the stadium, they're running, they're exercising. Those are all ways that will continue to help us to go through all of these malignant experiences that we went through.
Okay.
At the end of everything, um, accountability is key. And if you do not receive accountability, learn to forgive yourself. Forgive yourself for going through the experiences that you've been through and just keep moving on.
Okay.
Keep moving on.
Yes. Peterson, thank you so much for that, Titus. Peterson, as we wrap up the night here tonight, what is your parting message to our audience that have been listening to us? You have shared your personal stories. What is your parting message to them? What is the message you'd like to leave our audience tonight?
Yeah, I want to say thank you to you gentlemen for a very engaging discussion and everybody that's tuning in. Thank you. And for me, I want to say Liberia is a small country and we are all one people. It doesn't matter like if you do not understand what somebody is saying, but as long as we all come from Liberia to take that into consideration to say, okay, for love of country and love of people, we're going to unite and come together so that we can move forward. Because the destruction that happened in the country over 14 years, it's going to take a long time to rebuild, and we need to focus on that so that we can be able to move that. Because it's really alarming when you hear like U.S. plays on the world stage in terms of healthcare, education, and all of this is so sad.
Mhm.
So we need to focus on those things and say, okay, how can we move forward and try to come into the 21st century with this little country that we have? So we are all one, and it shouldn't take events like what just happened for people to start reacting. We always need to provide. We always talk on this platform about providing a safe space for people to like have discussions and conversations. Let people express themselves. However they feel, that is their feeling. It should be respected and it's valid. But then we should be able to express and move forward.
Okay. Thank you for that, Peterson. Sam, as we wrap up tonight, what is the message you'd like to leave our audience tonight?
Well, I like to say that we have a lot of work to do as a people, as a nation.
Mhm.
Um, we have to recognize the importance of unity, coming together. If we must succeed, if we cannot unite as a people, give us 100 years more, we'll be in the same place.
Okay.
So if we must be serious about moving forward as a country and progressing and developing, we must come together, and we must not be too quick to forget the
Okay.
people who are causing us trouble. We should hold them accountable. The people who are not seeking our interests, our politicians who are fighting for us or supposed to be fighting for us, if they're not doing the right thing, let's replace them.
Okay.
Let's replace them. Let's do what we need to do as a people. Let's educate ourselves, because knowledge is power.
Okay.
If you get to know things, you get to understand how you can work around the system and how you can advocate for other people and advocate for yourself as well. So we
Okay.
must just love ourselves, man. Let's love each other, man.
Okay.
You
Okay.
know, even if we can't love, let's respect each other, right? And let's respect our nation as a whole. You can love everybody, but you
Mhm.
must respect us. We should respect each other, respect our country, and try to see what best we can do in order to grow this country and move forward.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, that's the
Circle
end of our show
Podcast,
tonight.
where
It's
hearts
been a great
unite.
show. Thank you for tuning in.
Sharing our
We
truths,
ready? It's a
bringing
yeah,
hope to
it's a
the
great,
light.
great conversation. And this conversation, right, as
Community
the panelist said,
strong, we're
needs to
never
continue. It needs to
alone.
be healing. It needs to be love.
Together as
You
one,
know,
we've
and let us,
created
wherever
a
you're from,
home.
wherever post or
So
country you're from,
join the
learn to
conversation, let's
forget
set the
and learn to
tone.
forgive, right? And then
In a
let there
circle
be
podcast
accountability.
where
You know, it
love
shouldn't
is
just be
well
about
known.
emotion. So, guys, thank you so much for the great discussion tonight. It's been a great discussion. And we'll be back here on Thursday with another great, great topic. You know,
So
we'll let you
join the
know. And then
conversation,
Friday,
let's
we'll
set
be
the
here with our weekly
tone.
business show. So thank you for
In a
tuning in
circle
tonight. And good
podcast
night,
where
everyone.
love is well known.
Right?